Ron Musgraves, Pressure Washing Institute, Contractors First. We're going to talk about commercial pricing. And when you actually see how clever this is, and why you need to understand commercial pricing and how it works, you're going to be pretty flabbergasted at how simple it is. A lot of guys here that are following my sales thing don't understand, like, okay, Ron, I get this, send an unsolicited proposal, but I have no idea on how to send an unsolicited proposal. And I'm gonna explain to you how simple it can be. We're gonna start off with restaurants. We're gonna talk about parking garages. We're gonna talk about shopping centers, and we're gonna talk about what I call Fortune 500, which are these type of restaurants. And we're gonna talk about community management. Now, these things can be developed on kitchen exhaust cleaning, bus stop cleaning. You know, you can use these same type of principles that I'm gonna teach you in this video, and you can literally convert the number to anything you want to. But I'll start off with this one so that you guys can understand that the pricing is not as difficult as you think it is. Everybody, and I love when somebody says, Ron, I got 200 locations and I got to go out and take a look at them. Okay, well, just based upon that right there, let's go right there. If you got 200, because everybody knows this, it's the 5th largest retailer on the planet, Walgreens. Are you going to really go out to 200 locations to put a bid in to take a look at them? I don't think so. I'm not going to, because if you think about this, if you haven't traveled, maybe you don't understand this. A Walgreens in my neighborhood is the exact same size as the Walgreens in New York, in Florida, in Seattle. Yes, you're gonna go, but Ron, I've got some Walgreens that are in shopping centers. Those are called inline, and there's a price for those too. You know, most of these Fortune 500 companies have footprints. They're called footprints, and they follow the same footprint. I'll give you an example, okay? The next time you open your eyes, this used to be McDonald's because they were the king of this. But if you walk into a Starbucks, okay, and guys will go, what does this have to do with pricing? If you walk into a Starbucks and you look where the barista's standing, okay, I'm gonna tell you that in the cooler, right where she's standing in front of that barista machine, in 10,000 locations, the milk is right there by her knee, okay? And you'll notice this, if you look up to the left on here, there's a tray and there's all the sprinkles and the cinnamon and everything. And if you start noticing this, walking into every Starbucks, they can take a barista from unit 1 or unit 10,000 and put her behind that barista machine or espresso machine, and they're just like they're at home. They don't know any differences. That's the way that these companies, since McDonald's, started the franchising model, and they started building these systems, and they got really good at them, okay? So with that said, what are these units all? There's probably any group of corporations probably have no more than 5 footprints of stores. You walk into a Walmart supercenter, you'll go, but Ron, my groceries are on this side, and across town, the groceries are on this side. They flipped it. But in virtually aisle 27, you're gonna walk in there, and that's gonna be where the canned goods are, okay? They're building these things as identical to one another as they can. So with that said, I think you're getting this. A Walgreens sidewalk is within 600 feet from one to the other. 600 feet is a matter of minutes when you're talking about service, okay? So if you develop a pricing structure for grocery stores, Walgreens, eating establishments, and I'll follow up with this eating establishment one, because now you kind of understand that these places are all built the same, right? An Outback Steakhouse, you roll up to it, it's a building, you know, they're gonna have a service door where they do their deliveries, they're gonna have a front door, big double wooden doors, There's a foyer area. You have to go through 2 sets of doors. They're almost identical. How do I know that? Because I've been there enough times. I understand that. And I open my eyes and I look and I see these things, okay? And they're all built the same way. Now, with that said, I don't need to go out to 200 Walgreens and take a look at them. I know by math and science, because I've done this long enough, I know what it takes, okay, what it's going to take to do a certain footprint of a certain store. So with the Walgreens, I know the exact price I'm going to charge monthly. And everybody's going to go, well, Ron, you're not giving me the prices. I don't need to give you the prices. Your prices are your own prices. But I will use this I'll use this as an example and a strategy that I put into play for restaurants. Restaurants are very, I don't want to discredit a lot of guys out there that do a lot of restaurants, but they're very easy to get. Okay, they're very easy to lose too, because there's a revolving door on management a lot of times in restaurants. But higher end restaurants have different pricing systems than a family restaurant. And then there are a fast food. So I consider there's three categories of locations for me. And here's why. And here's why they're different. Okay, most all fast food places are built the same. Fast food constitutes as a drive-through, okay, unless it's an inline store. Inline is in a shopping center. Okay, that's a different model and a different pricing. Remember, I told you there's usually 5 models, but even an inline store that's in a shopping center, they're going to be built very similar. If you walk in and you're going to see the things very similar. And we all know that in a storefront in a shopping center, there's not much sidewalk, right? If they're on the end, they may have a patio, okay? You can make pricing for patios. You can develop a series of pricing. Okay, well, that's a Panda Express. It doesn't have a patio, which is not likely. They all have patios, but let's say it doesn't. And you're just going to be doing the sidewalk in front. It's maybe 900 square feet, very small footprint, and it doesn't have a patio. But if it does have a patio, then it's going to be in a different tier on pricing. And you know that unit's going to take you maybe 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes, whether it has a patio or whether it doesn't have a patio. It's the same situation if you were to walk into an Olive Garden, an Outback Steakhouse, a Carrabba's. These are all family style restaurants. So what you do is you build a pricing structure knowing that a family style restaurant is going to take 45 minutes to an hour and 15, sometimes an hour and a half, and you're going to sit there and go, well, Ron, why do you have that fine dining? Well, the reason there's a different class for fine dining is these are high-end places, okay? And if you can imagine certain corporations are only trying to achieve certain standards, right? And I'm not saying you're going to do bad work, but in a high-end environment, yes, you're going to you may wash a patio for a fast food place and your guy might take a microfiber towel and wipe the tops of the tables or squeegee them off after he's done washing them. In a fine dining situation, they're going to have seat covers that you can't get wet. So all these things are going to take more time. So in the essence of it's going to be more time to wash something, you're going to want to have a different pricing tier. So in a fine dining situation, we were in a family dining and we were averaging 45 minutes to an hour and a half. A fine dining situation might be an hour and a half from 2 hours. So the pricing tier that you're going to set is going to be more money. Well, what this gives you is the ability to make a price list, okay? How would you like to take orders instead of always be selling? If you have a price list and they're on your website and it costs this much money to do a family style restaurant and you have that tier right there and that general manager is looking to get pressure washing, or let's say somebody referred him and then they look on your website and they go and the GM said, oh, that it's easy, Bob. They've got structured pricing. It's this much for this much for that much for this. If you get an emergency service call, it's this much. They even have a criteria if there's a grease spill that it could be from here to here. Now on that situation, it's always going to be as needed. It's not really going to be a set price to clean up a grease spill, because we all know a grease spill could take anywhere from 15 minutes to 5 hours, depending on how bad the spill is. But you're going to have a rate in there at which they know what they're going to pay. And then this way, it's about ordering and not so much you worrying about selling. It's kind of a triple-edged sword here, though, because now if you have a sales team, because that's what I do, I build sales teams for companies. And if you have a sales team, they have a playbook. They know what this is going to be. And if they're selling, they also get their commissions. You know the pricing, they know the pricing, the customer knows the pricing. This way it's scalable, and a salesman can't just lower the price because you have set pricing. He can't lower the price to collect a commission, right? We've seen that all too many times where people call me up all the time and go, Ron, I was giving the guy X percentage and he lowered his shorts and he sold these jobs. Now I'm in trouble. I'm not making any money. That's why you can't do that. You can't let your sales team dictate what your margins are going to be. And by science and math, if you try this, you're going to wind up understanding that it's a lot simpler, and you're going to wind up taking orders instead of trying to sell all the time. Now, when you get into other things, and I don't want this video to get too long, but I want you guys to understand this same type of system, it can work in homeowners associations by simply pricing by the door, okay? Meaning that if they have 355 doors and 20 buildings in the community, they have X amount of doors per building, and you can figure out a tier pricing for that. Parking garage cleaning, I'm gonna tell you something, guys. If you call up a manager and ask her him or her, the square footage of the parking garage, they have no idea. But guess what they do know? They know how many spaces they have per deck. That's what they always know. Now, I just gave you a little hint there. That's how they work on their budgets. That's how they do their pricing. This next one, if you're following along and you're smart enough to figure this out, there's a thing in retail, and that's shopping centers, and even industrial, even light industrial, any type of a building where a tenant is paying rents. There's something called CAM, and I'm not going into that right now, but the bottom line is all of the CAM costs are derived by the square footage based upon what the tenants are paying. Everything is determined by that. So they have this thing called GLS or GLA, gross leasable area, gross leasable space. By math and science, you can formulate a formula on the size of a shopping center based upon the GLA and come up with a cleaning number. Wow, how much easier that is. All this information is right at your fingertips. Why? Because it's how they dictate their entire budget. It's how they collect the rent money that they use to pay you with. The bottom line is, it's that simple. Going back to the homeowners association, in community management, get a little stretch in there. In community management, they do the same thing per door, because a homeowners association, the owners pay a fee on a monthly basis, and that's how they work the fee out, is per door. They collect $200 a month per door. That's how they come up with their budgets, because this is how they have the money, and that's how they allocate the budgets. Now, I hope that this video really cuts this down, and I see a lot of guys adopting this. And when you adopt this, and you've made your life so much easier, this is probably a game-changing life thing for you. If you're not doing it this way, there's a lot of guys out there that I've taught all this over the last 20 years, that, it's funny because some of them are, hey, I'm going to come and do a commercial sales in your area. And they go, Ron, We will pay you not to do a commercial sales in my area. Matter of fact, we will send you somewhere on vacation not to come and give contractors this information. The bottom line is, guys, a lot of times the noise out there that you're going to hear that says, "Oh, Ron's doesn't know what he's talking about. You can't do it that way." It's absolutely ridiculous. This is absolutely the way they do it. It's absolutely the way all the pros do it. It's the way all the companies that are really scaling their businesses to be larger are doing it. There's not a one that's not using these type of systems. It's just cleaning is science and math. And I hate to blow this out of the water, but like this is how the bigger companies do it. And like I said, I'm not formulated to. I can help one-man operators, and if you want to be a one-man operator, that's all fantastic. But when I started my business, I never thought in my mind. I never thought I was going to be a single man operator ever. Not from the first 6 hours I was pressure washing. I was like, hey, how can I scale this? How can I make this better? And did I know everything at the very beginning? No. Do I know everything now? No. Nobody knows everything. I'll tell you a little story. 3 or 4 days ago, on a little mastermind after a podcast in the green room, I got a great tip from a 22-year-old kid that, and I say kid, he's not a kid, he's a young man, but and he's a great entrepreneur, and he's doing hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue, and has had great months where he's doing $100,000. But I got a great tip from this kid that I'm going to try to implement. And I told him I'm stealing that idea. It's so great. I'll be dropping that idea sometime in a later video. I have to do it myself first. You know, ideas all sound good until you actually try them, and then you find out maybe they don't work so well. I think this one's genius, and you can look for it probably I'll be dropping that one in the next 90 days. And I'll tell you right now, it's a pretty game-changing idea. I don't think he realizes how large the idea is. Anyways, Ron Musgraves, Pressure Washing Institute. This is my commercial sales video, guys. Hey, like it, share it, drop it down here. Make sure you follow me. Appreciate you guys. Ron Musgraves, Pressure Washing Institute. We're out.